Hello, welcome back to my channel and to the video that I know so many of you look forward to, my autumn-winter wardrobe switchover. Now, I might do this task a little earlier than you guys, if you even do a switchover at all, but that's because I'm having to create content in advance, so I really need to have access to all of my cold weather clothing in order to be able to work with it. That said, the temperature has been dropping here and I've certainly found a need for my knitwear over the last couple of weeks. Right, so as usual, the first thing that I'm going to do is edit down the various areas in my wardrobe, starting off with my main full-length hanging space. And by edit down, I mean removing all the pieces that I want to pack away until next spring, so my dresses for example, but leaving out the few pieces that I want to keep out. For the moment at least. So I usually have a couple of trench coats in my wardrobe all year round, and those will stay on my rail as I'll get plenty of wear out of those this side of Christmas. This past summer season I had my dresses on this rail along with skirts and trousers, the majority of which are linen, and I have no use for linen now that we're in autumn, so they're all coming off so that I can make space for coats and autumn-winter trousers. All the garments coming off the rail are piled on the bed in the guest bedroom, which is next door to my wardrobe. It's not the most ideal situation, but it just allows me to keep designated piles of each category together so that it makes my life easier when I get to the dreaded task of putting them in my storage tubs. So here you can see my main rail fully edited down. I've just got those trench coats left, my Uniqlo barrel leg trousers, a satin slip skirt and some loungewear on the end, which will no doubt be relocated later on. I had some bag overflow on this bottom shelf below my rail, so I'm just removing all of those summer bags, which will be packed away anyway, but also because my coats need the full length of hanging space so that they can hang nicely and not get creased by being all bunched up at the bottom. The summer accessories on the top shelf above the rail were also removed to free up some more space if needed for any autumn-winter things. The next rail to get an edit is my loungewear rail. Now I've left most things on here because they're just tracksuits and I tend to wear those all year round, but I did remove a linen loungewear set which definitely won't be warm enough for the coming months. And again, the same process for my final hanging space, which usually tends to be tops, shirts and blazers. I just removed all of the items that I know I won't be wearing until my next switchover, which is usually around about March or April time, depending on the weather. I have in previous years kept out my baseball caps, but I noticed last year that I only wore a couple and I wore them very rarely and it was mainly in autumn. So I decided to pack most of those away this year, just again to free up a little bit more space. I then have a pull-out tray for belts, which tends to stay the same all year round because belts, let's face it, aren't particularly seasonal. And the same goes for my sunglasses tray. Most of you will know that I never go out without my sunglasses, regardless of the time of year or the weather, so they stay put. My basket of swimwear, on the other hand, does not. Now, if I remember correctly, I think I used this basket for my autumn-winter beanie hats and gloves when I last did this switch, and I found that really useful, so that was again my plan for this year. The next area to get an edit is my denim shelves, where I keep all of my jeans. So if you've been watching all of my twice annual wardrobe switches over the last 4 years since we moved into this house, then you may remember that these shelves in fact used to be used for storing shoes. Now I can't remember exactly when it was that I switched to storing jeans on them, but this works really well for me because I've got them all grouped together by fit and style and then clearly labelled with these little shelf markers so that I know exactly what's what. And now onto my drawers. So I've got 8 drawers on this side and they all need to be de-summered. This top drawer is sleepwear, so I'm removing all linen pyjamas, any short-sleeved or little short sets, camisoles, nighties, any summery nightwear. The next drawer is basics, so I edited those right down and just kept out 3 or 4 t-shirts to see me through any sort of warmer weather during autumn, but also to layer under knitwear. The following 2 drawers are all shorts, and I know that I definitely won't be wearing those until next summer, so they can all go out and go into the guest room next door, ready to be packed away later on. The next set of 4 drawers is usually reserved for my knitwear, and this is all year round, so knitwear of some capacity. In summer, for example, I have a lot of cotton knitwear in there, along with some merino wool basics, and some of my cashmere, which I do leave out even in summer, because I like to have myself covered for any cooler weather or any air conditioning, because I'm one of those people that gets really cold really quickly in any air conditioning. Now, we don't have it in the house because it's not particularly standard here in the UK, but we do have it in a lot of restaurants over here, supermarkets, and most importantly, it is always on at the cinema. And Simon and I go to the cinema several times a week. So my point being, I just always like to have some cashmere to hand. Right, so now the only areas I've yet to edit down are my bag cupboards, which are on the left-hand side. But for now, I'm going to leave those as they are, and I'm going to give my wardrobe a clean. Doing this switchover alone creates a lot of dust, so I try and keep on top of it as I go along, and I just like to wipe down all of my shelves. It's always been part of my process and my routine, and I suppose it just makes me feel like everything is fresh for a new season, despite the fact that I do actually regularly clean my wardrobe. It's a bit like doing the bedding changeover on a Sunday so that it's fresh for a new week. Right, now it's time to get out the storage tubs where I'd packed everything from my autumn-winter wardrobe away back in April when I last did a switchover. I'm going through 1 tub at a time, getting out the contents and rediscovering what I have, which is always fun because, as you can see, I have a lot of stuff and I can often forget what I have. So this first tub was jeans and trousers. So I just folded all of my jeans down to how I have them displayed on my shelves and created a pile, which for now, I just added to the pile of jeans that I took off the shelves earlier, and I'll go back to denim in a little bit. Any trousers were then hung and popped on my rail. The next tub was accessories, so scarves, hats, gloves. And as I mentioned earlier, I freed up that basket for my beanie hats by removing all of my swimwear, so then I could stack those vertically in colour order from light to dark, which makes it easy for me to see what I have. And I did the same with the scarves, but in one of the drawers which had previously had shorts in. Then I moved on to my knitwear tub, folding everything so that it can be displayed vertically in my knitwear drawers. I had a little rejig of my knitwear drawers so that certain categories were all together. For example, I like to have all my crew necks together, turtlenecks and funnel necks together. I have a drawer for chunky knits, and I even have 2 designated drawers of all of the COS cashmere that I've collected over the years. Each drawer just makes sense to me so that when I open it, I know exactly what's in there and I don't have to go hunting for things. And that's also a benefit of vertical folding. It's just so much easier to see what you have. And now onto my outerwear tubs. So wool blazers, jackets, and of course, my coats. When I get to this point, I know that I've got to go and de-hanger all of the piles of spring-summer clothing that are in the guest room. So that's what I did. I need the hangers for my outerwear and I don't pack anything away on hangers, so all hangers need to be removed anyway. So as I empty each outerwear tub, it all gets a hanger and then hung in its designated area. So jackets and blazers on the lower rail to the right of my wardrobe and all full-length coats on the central rail. Now, as you can see here, I do store my coats in garment bags for the off-seasons. But I don't keep them hung in their garment bags when they're on my rail. Now this is mainly because I find it easier to put outfits together when I can actually see what I have in front of me. I'm a very visual person, and if there's an obstacle that's put in my way, like a garment bag where I can't see what's inside, then I tend to get a bit lazy. Okay, now I've emptied all of my clothing tubs. I'm moving on to those bag cupboards on the left-hand side of my wardrobe. I'm removing all summer-themed bags, so any raffia, straw, canvas, linen, that kind of thing, any beach-type bags, and then just reorganising the bags that I have left to make the most of the space and also to keep certain styles together. And then finally, I went back to going through all of my jeans, deciding what pairs were staying out and what would be packed away, then organising those back into style piles before going back on the shelves with their little shelf markers so that I can identify what's what. Onto my shoe cupboard now, which is just outside my wardrobe, and as usual this gets the same edit as all the other previous areas. Removing any sandals and any other sort of summer footwear like espadrilles that I definitely won't be wearing now until next year. And because I've now got some empty storage tubs from what I've unpacked, I can pack those away as I go along. Any autumn-winter specific footwear that I unpacked then went into the shoe cupboard, with the exception of boots. Now, I think this was something that I trialled last year for the first time, but because my autumn-winter bags don't take up that much space, I was able to free up one whole bag cupboard, which is where I decided to keep my ankle boots. So this year I'm going to repeat that again, but I only put my new additions in there, so boots that I've purchased over the last month or so. And in case you were wondering, this is what the guest room looks like. It may seem like utter carnage, but all of these piles are categories that have been kept together, which makes this next part 10 times easier. So now it's time to pack everything away and fill those storage tubs back up with my spring-summer wardrobe. Each category gets slightly folded, very loosely termed, and stacked in a tub. Sometimes I can fit a couple of smaller categories per tub, and sometimes I might top up a tub with some accessories, but for the most part, each one has its own category. Once all of the tubs are full, they can then go back into the eaves storage space. Now, I have been quite strategic with the order that I put them back in there because I left a tub of boots intact, and I also have a specific Christmas tub. So that's got seasonal nightwear in there, Christmas jumpers, that kind of thing. So I left those two tubs until last because I'll need access to those in the next couple of months. So those are very easy for me to whip out when I need to. Once the mess was tidied away, tubs filled and stored for another 6 months or so, I gave my wardrobe a good hoover and a dust, and then swapped out the home fragrance for something more seasonally appropriate. And then I called it a day because this is an all-day kind of task, and to be quite honest, I was absolutely knackered. So once the switchover is done, I'll take my big freestanding steamer in there and start working through anything that's a little bit creased from having been in storage. I prioritise any of my jackets and coats because they take the longest amount of time to steam, and timekeeping isn't my best quality, so I may not leave myself enough time to steam a coat when getting ready. I tend to space this task out over a few days, usually just when I've got a podcast episode to listen to and I've got a bit of free time. I actually find it quite a therapeutic task for me to do, which is strange because if you've watched our recent autumn home refresh, you'll have heard me say that I absolutely hate ironing. And I mean with a passion, I hate it. But there's something very calming about steaming. And here we have the finished result. So I am now ready for the autumn-winter seasons. Now, I just want to end on something really important. I've been creating online content for 18 years, so this is not a normal person's wardrobe and therefore not a normal amount of clothing for a single person to have. It is excessive because of my job. So please don't compare your wardrobe to mine or feel that you need more because trust me, you don't. But for now, that's it from me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.